Hello, this is David Patano with The Creative Clinician and GuitarPlayLikeAPro.com. And this is our first section on using the mic looper, the microphone looper. And to remind us, we have a relationship with Sweetwater Music in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And if you're interested in this mic looper or related kinds of products, contact Sweetwater and ask for Matt Alexander and get a discount on the mic looper. Now, as I mentioned in the introduction video, this looper information, this continuing education course about using a mic looper, is going to be touching on various areas where I've used the mic looper very effectively for music making and in my music therapy work. In this first area, I'm going to talk about how easy it is and how effective it is to use a mic looper and looper kinds of experiences to promote and support self-expression. One neat story that really illustrated how a looper elicits creativity and self-expression is this summer. You probably heard me mention that I did hospice bereavement camps with children in conjunction with the Toledo Symphony. And these 4 area camps that I was part of, I had 2 Toledo Symphony musicians working with me at each camp for music making, music engagement, to provide a music experience for these kids at the bereavement camps. And one of the camps, there was a medium functioning, probably 12-year-old autistic boy there. And I learned from the staff that he just loves music and he's pretty talented at music. So after we did a couple looper things where I used my voice and did some beatbox kind of sounds, hip-hop kind of techniques, and made some music with the group, I asked him, now that you've seen us use it, I said, I would like you to come up with a beat using your voice, because then we are going to build on your beat that you make. So it's all going to start with you. So this talented young man did one little thing with his voice and it wasn't quite right. Then I said to him, take your time, think for a minute what you hear your favorite music sounding like. He thought for a second, and then he just ripped off this 2 or 4 measure perfect beat with his voice and using different vocalizations. So there we had it. We had the foundation of our loop, and then I had myself, the symphony musicians, other kids in the group that day build upon that. And this young man was so excited that this whole music piece stemmed from his foundational beat that he initiated. He was saying, is this going to be on YouTube? Is this going to be on YouTube? He was so excited and couldn't wait to show this to his family and friends and that kind of thing. So that's just one, I think, great story that I think illustrates how a looper can just pull people in and really get people self-expressive and creative. Now I'm breaking this self-expression topic using the mic looper, I'm breaking it up into 4 sub areas. And what I'm going to do is talk about an area, then show an example of how I've used it with this area. And you'll see what I mean. But before I do that, I just want to mention that you're seeing me use the mic looper. In the intro video, I encourage you to find other musicians on YouTube and elsewhere so you can see how others use it, because we're all limited to our experience and skill set. So just kind of as a disclaimer, this is how I've used it, but you know, search and use your instincts and talents to use a mic looper. And just want to mention, we're talking about a mic looper. You have to have one to learn how to use it, so I encourage you once again to grab one. So this first area regarding self-expression I'm going to show examples of is, like I described with the young man, he started a loop using his voice. And that's the first example you'll see, is myself and a music therapist, music professional, using our voice only, our voices only. So check that out. The next area regarding self-expression, how I've utilized the mic looper, is with music instruments. So I'm going to show you this example of a bass player, and you might have seen this example previously, but the idea is just like the young man at the camp. I asked this bass player to, off the top of his head, come up with a riff, come up with something self-expressive from him, but him using his instrument. So this is instrument use being self-expressive.
1, 2, ready, go.
The next area we're going to build on is using the mic looper in a self-expressive way, combining vocalizations with music instruments. And this is me doing an example that was on the introduction video, but watch it again even though you've seen it with this in mind now, because the first thing I did using my voice was something I just thought of on the spot, being self-expressive. The next thing I did was on the guitar. On the spot, being self-expressive. I know I was building off of the beat that was laid down, but still, I was being self-expressive and spontaneous with my instrument. And you can see that just play out voice and instrument. Now the last area, being self-expressive, that we're building on again, is combining spontaneous self-expressive parts with structured or composed parts. And you'll see that here with the violin player adding a part that I wrote. And you can even add structured, composed vocal parts also. 2, ready, play. Nice, okay, right? So have fun practicing these parts. Try what I've done here, using vocal parts, spontaneous things that you come up with on the spot. Try adding structured parts, composed parts with instruments, harmonized lines like I did with the violin, harmonized vocal lines that you can compose. It's just a lot of fun, and a looper is just wonderful for that quick recording kind of thing, but you can just do it spontaneously. We're going to talk more about that, how I use it at the hospital and with other populations in different scenarios. Be thinking about what kind of clients, where you work, how you might utilize it as you practice some of these techniques that I'm showing you. And you'll see in a future video a young man playing violin and guitar. He's my next door neighbor. So don't hesitate to grab people you know, relatives, neighbors, to practice some of these fun music techniques on using the mic looper.